Thanks for staying with us. Now, Energy Minister John Peter Amewu has come under scathing criticism from some sections of the society after he asked Ghanaians to applaud government for implementing policies which he says has ensured prices of petroleum products did not go higher than it would have under the Mahama administration. The 3.5% increment has been, greeted with uproar by most Ghanaians. Mr. Amewu, who addressed a news conference Thursday, said consumers would have been paying more than what pertains currently, but for government's prudent policies. There's more in the following report.
The minister's news conference was his first major media interaction since he took over from sacked Energy Minister Boakye Jako. He spoke on the states of various agencies directly under his ministry. On the state of a bulk oil storage and transportation company BOST, John Peter Amewu said it had been run down over the years, making it necessary for a forensic audit to provide evidence for the possible prosecution of persons responsible.
An audit will be commissioned into the BOST operations between 2013 to 2018. This will ensure that persons against whom adverse findings will be made will of course face the full rigors of the law. The audit will also provide recommendations for restructuring of BOST management, operations and financial management. Full details of the findings are expected to be received by the end of October.
On issues relating to the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, the Energy Minister said 11 power purchasing agreements signed under the John Mahama administration will be terminated to ensure ECG does not have power exceeding consumers' demand.
As a result of the review exercise, government stands to make significant savings from the deferment or the terminations of the review of the PPAs. The estimated cost for the terminations amounting to almost $402 million, compared to an average annual capacity cost of $586 million each year, or a cumulative cost of $7.2 billion from 2018 to 2030.
Government has been criticized particularly for the hike in fuel prices amidst suggestions that the special petroleum tax be scrapped, but Mr. Amewu maintains the situation could have been worse.
Without government intervention, as I've stated earlier, prices today would have been 5.54 per litre for petrol and 5.55 per litre for diesel. So what means is that the price we are paying today, if the Mahama-led administration is still in force, you will be paying quite close to between 9 to 10% higher than the current prices that Ghanaians are paying. I think in time we give this government the recognition for caring for the people of this country.
Deputy Energy Minister Dr. Amin Adam revealed government is currently reviewing the special petroleum tax to decide on scrapping it.
As far as scrapping it completely, the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Energy are discussing other options, and therefore when a decision is made eventually, the people of Ghana will know.
So we've been engaging members of the public on the minister's call for commendation for managing the fuel prices better. Here are their thoughts.
As a new government that we are now assessing, so we can say that we have given him a 4-year mandate, and based on that 4-year mandate is when we are going to assess him. But for Mahama's government, I can frankly say that I agree with what the man said, that it should have been 10% because we know and we have assessed him based on the mandate that we gave to him, and we saw that the government was not what we were expecting.
I don't agree. You see, politics of equalization will not help a nation at all. And then to have said that if it were Mahama's administration, the rate would have been 10% higher, has no basis. Of course, has no basis. And if he wants to propound something like that, then he should bring more convincing basis that would have been. However, you can't just say it this way.
The fuel prices, the increment is inevitable. Whether you like it or yes, it's going to increase. But ask yourself, what are we producing? What are we doing that will make other currencies chase the Ghana cedi. So on the stock market, at least, we'll be able to be trading with the cedi. We don't produce anything. And now, the fuel is almost moving with the dollar. So I think by October, November, December, if we don't take time, the dollar, it will be almost like 10 cedis to one cedi. Like a dollar will be 10 cedi. Like $1 will be equivalent to 10 Ghana cedis if we don't take time. Because we are not producing enough. We are not selling enough. Imagine we are producing. So at the end of the day, people will get to patronize things from Ghana. So at the end of the day, there will be more currencies chasing the Ghana cedi. You understand? So I think we should produce more. That'll be a cure to stabilize the fuel prices.
Joining us via Skype is Executive Director of the Kumasi Institute of Technology, Energy and Environment, Ghana, Ishmael Ejekumhene. Good evening and many thanks for your time.
Good evening.
Ishmael, what are your initial thoughts on the minister's call for commendation?
I don't think that comment was necessary. We pay them to do their job. They should leave the people of Ghana to decide whether they deserve commendation. But the truth of the matter is that I think it was a needless comment, and no wonder he was smiling himself.
You could just reposition yourself. Your line is not too smooth, but essentially what I get from what you're saying is that the minister's comments were needless, right?
Yeah, those comments about commendation, I don't think it was necessary.
Okay, all right. But the minister maintains that the Akufo-Addo administration has managed the situation better than the John Mahama administration would have done. What do you make of this? He points to the fact that in March 2017, the 17.5% tax was slashed to 15%, and in February 18, it was reduced by a further 13%.
Okay, so what he stated was factual, or is factual. Those were the interventions that they put in place since they came up. So technically, you could argue that we're not paying that much, but that's how many months ago? 21 months ago. We can't be sure whether the administration will slap some of the levies. So I wouldn't make that comparison. And you see, it goes this whole discussion that we've been having. I think we should just focus on the work given to this administration. Those comparisons, when you keep doing that, and say that's why we take those guys out. We expect a lot more. Initially, when I heard that they've done something about it, I thought there was a new intervention. But obviously, these are the and that's why I said shouldn't have brought that in. What is happening is not so much of their doing, because most of the things that led to this price increases are not their big. See, they probably, unless we decide to scrap the petroleum deregulation and say that government wants to say, I mean, this is going to need to happen. But I think they should cut off 2 years into this administration, stop comparing, and let's focus on the.
Very well. Many thanks. Ishmael Ejekumhene is with Kite. He's an energy expert. Let's get on the line and speak to minority spokesperson on energy, Adam Mutawakilu. He also joins us on the line. Mr. Mutawakilu, the minister said that if John Mahama was still president, Ghanaians would be paying close to between 9 and 10%. Your reaction to that?
Yeah, thank you very much. My first reaction is that is quite unfortunate to be coming from a minister. When you are given the mandate to run the country, a huge sector like the energy sector, and you sit down and thinking for former President Mahama, that is quite unfortunate. I think it's very, very unfortunate that he's reading the mind of President Mahama at this time and using it to make comparisons. That is very unfortunate. But two, as a minister of energy, the minister must have patience to do due diligence in whatever he's coming out to the public to say. One, the minister came, whether he was responding to the press conference we had yesterday, I don't know, but he just misfired. First and foremost, before you start talking about the special petroleum tax and how much you have reduced it to 17, go and get the Hansard and get the memorandum that accompanied this special petroleum tax levied then and passed to act in Parliament. That is what you should look for, where they have explained the situation and the purpose for introducing the special petroleum tax. You must address yourself with that. Then you go ahead to now put your argument. It became very clear that he just felt that every tax is a tax, and every tax is supposed to give us revenue, and therefore there's no difference between one tax and the other. But it is very important for him to notice that every tax has a purpose for which it is introduced. We have the toll debt recovery levy that is supposed to clear off the debt. We have the stabilization. Then the special petroleum tax came into being as a result of a shortfall in our crude oil exports. And because of that shortfall, we needed another source of revenue to be able to fulfill or to fill in that gap, to be able to deliver the project that is captured in the budget. Today, as we speak, there's no any shortfall. We are making a surplus of about $20 per barrel. And therefore, there's no shortfall and a surplus. And that should indirectly tell you that this special petroleum tax has become irrelevant and therefore need not be left in the system. But he came and he justified. And I want to draw his attention that when they were in opposition, they had sworn that they'll scrap this tax when they come to power. So for him to now become talking as if we just introduced the special petroleum tax just to raise revenue sake and for nothing else, I think he needs to go and sit back and get enough briefing. Another aspect he misfired, and not totally, but that is not the best for him, was when he started giving us the reasons why there is this current petroleum price increase. And by telling Ghanaians that the OPEC and non-OPEC countries cut production, that has translated to this price increase, while forgetting to tell us the internal factors that is causing the depreciation of the cedi and therefore significantly causing these petroleum prices to go up. That one is not determined by OPEC. That one is not determined by the level of crude oil production. That one is determined by how efficient you run the country. And if the country was being run efficiently, I think that the city would have been stable. But it's not stable. Now, as we speak today, once the city continues to depreciate, the fuel price increase will go up. And he must be abreast with time, this window of increment, because of the insignificant impact of it by the cut in production from OPEC and non-OPEC countries. India didn't raise their fuel price increment. American didn't do that. Nigerian didn't do that. Angola didn't increase. That will tell you that it's insignificant.
Mr. Mutawakilu, you talked about the fuel price increases in relation to the depreciating cedi. Do you foresee, the prices going even higher by end of year?
There's no indication from government. The measures that are being put in place can stop the cedi from depreciating. And as far as the cedi depreciates, whether external factors or not, we will pay more.
Now, you've also consistently called for the scrapping of the special petroleum tax. And the minister today indicated that they were in talks with the finance minister to review the process of actually scrapping it. Are you optimistic that it will actually be scrapped?
This is not the first time the Minister of Finance and the Ministry of Energy had issued statements telling Ghanaians that they will look at the special petroleum tax. I've had many newspapers publications when the former Minister of Energy, in the statesman, said that we'll review the petroleum price build-up. Up to date, nothing has happened.
All right.
So based on these things, I cannot be certain. I believe that they just want to do that. Then Ghanaians say, oh, they want to consider look at it, and then we go to sleep and they leave it. But as minority, we will pursue our sensitization outreach by 15th of October 2018 to reach out to Ghanaians in the various regions in a bid to educate them about this special petroleum tax and why the need for it to be scrapped.
All right. Many thanks for your time. That was Adams Mutawakilu. He is a minority spokesperson on energy. You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Araba Kumsin. Still ahead, about 37 illegal sawmills set ablaze by Joint Forestry and Military Task Force on crackdown of chainsaw operators in forest reserves in Western Region. Details after this break. You're welcome back. Now, forestry officials in Sefirioso district in the Western region are vowing to sustain the operation to clamp down on chainsaw operations in forest reserves despite threats on their lives. A joint military and forestry task force with the aid of 2 helicopters have launched air and ground onslaught in some areas, including where 37 illegal sawmills have either been dismantled or burned. About 140 military personnel were deployed in Riosu Municipal Bia East, Dwaboso, Akontombra and Budi districts. District forestry officials have seized equipment, vehicles and some lumber. A man said to be a ringleader in the illegal operations has been arrested. District manager Nana Bosompim says he is yet to report the threat to police, but assures he would not look on for the forest to be destroyed.
An operation of this magnitude would definitely experience some resistance and some opposition from stakeholders. So far, the municipal district chief executives have all cooperated with us. Wherever we've been, we've consulted the chiefs, the opinion leaders in the communities. Some of them even lead us to some of places where these infractions are occurring. But definitely there will be political interference on the ground, political party executives threatening war on forest officers. I, for once, have been threatened. They say if they declare war on me, I will not be let loose to do what I feel I want to do. But this is a national exercise, and we need not spread it before occasioning it. Even I, the district manager, I was informed 2 hours to deployment of the military when they were getting to my area. That's when I had to go and meet them, because anytime information is disseminated, I bet you all these pieces of lumber will not have been obtained if the information had leaked. So people saying they were not consulted, they were not in the know, blah, blah, blah. It is not a bad operation. It is an operation to protect a vital national asset. So whether you are in the know or you are not in the know, all is well, that ends well. We crave the indulgence of the regional minister, the MMDCs, the opinion leaders, our friend community. It is their national asset. Currently, they are fighting for a Western North region. The main national asset for this Western North region is their cocoa and the forest. And wherever there's a forest, cocoa tribes. So if the forest you go, Western North will have nothing. So we crave their support to be able to execute this exercise. We have had pieces of information, threat whatsoever, political threats. We are not deterred. We are not going to compromise. People are saying we are assaulting people, we are beating people, we are burning. They are not true. They are not true. Nobody has even come to see this piece of lumber. So they are just on the airways making noise. The reality is what we are seeing on the ground. We have dedicated ourselves. I myself have spent 3 good days in the forest. You don't even get water to bath. You put your leg in boots for 3 continuous days. I bet you it's a Herculean exercise. This piece of lumber that you see were carried on our heads. People were hired to carry them. Just imagine how many youth were engaged to carry these things. Look at the vehicles that were conveying and moving the 15 vehicles, 124 minutes, a very expensive operation. Who is bearing the cost? Not me, it's the taxpayer.
Well, the over 150,000 wood beams are estimated to have a street value of about 700,000 Ghana cedis. Nana Bosompim says the wastage and loss caused by the recalcitrant encroachers cannot be quantified.
predominantly redwoods. These are the mahoganies. We have the emery. We have much priced wood like Mansonia, Asamfna, and the like. There are also some endangered species that even if a timber company is duly registered, permit can never be issued for the timber company to harvest those trees. I'm talking about Kokodua, what we refer to as Afromosia. We went into the forest and realized these chainsaw operators have cut about 10 of those species. These are endemic. You don't find them anywhere in the world, and they're even going extinct. So even legally constituted sawmills, they do not have permit to harvest Afromosia or Kokodua. But here we are, chainsaw operators without due recourse to law, felling the trees indiscriminately. As we stand now, if you look at even the commercial value, the street value of these pieces of lumber that have dotted this whole area, it sums up to more than 700,000 Ghana cedis. This is a revenue that would have been lost to the state. If these trees have been legally harvested, it would generate the revenue all right. If it is processed, it creates jobs because there's a value addition. It goes through the mills or whatever. At the airport, at the export, at the port, there's some 10% value of the wood that is remitted to the state to go back into forest services. All this revenue would have been lost.
My colleague Ohiming Teria has been following this, and he joins us on the line. Good evening to you, Ohiming.
Good evening, Araba.
So tell us, how long do we expect this operation to last?
From the officials of the Forestry Commission, they wouldn't want to disclose the span that this particular exercise will run, except to say that they want to get rid of encroachers who have been operating in the Tano, Sushen, Moro, Krokosia, and then Yoso and Jaboso forest reserves to ensure that the forest can't, live on its own. But the unfortunate thing is that this particular exercise has been met with some sort of misreaction from section of the public. Some of the sawmillers have commended the Forestry Commission and the joint military team for this particular exercise, including those who were victims. They believe strongly that some of them own concessions. Their concessions over the years have come under attack of these illegal chainsaw operators and illegal sawmillers. And anytime they approach them, either they are threatened with offensive weapons like machete and then guns. So this has prevented them from going forward all this while. So, and there are others who also believe that because their livelihood is being denied, they will go long way to ensure that they also fight back to go back to the forest reserve. So, Araba, that has been the situation in the affected areas.
But tell us, Ohiming, is this operation restricted to the western region or is a nationwide crackdown?
This is the same question I put to Nana Bosompim, who explained that this is the first of its kind in Ghana. This exercise is happening the first time in the western region, but they intend to replicate it in other parts of the country. But he wouldn't want to go public to mention the next area they want to target, except to say that Ghanaians should expect the Forestry Commission and the joint military team to be offensive in dealing with encroachers in forest reserves, especially where illegal miners have also been thriving. So for them, they want to sustain the gains made in these 5 forest reserves in Western region by extending it to other parts of the country.
All right, many thanks. Ohiming Teria there with those details. You're still watching Joy News Prime. Coming up is business, and in business, Cocoa Board finalizes $1.3 billion syndication loan for 2018-2019 cocoa season. A CEO promises to use proceeds prudently as prescribed by Parliament. We have details after this break.
Hello, good evening and welcome to Business. Cocoa Board has finalized a $1.3 billion syndication loan for the 2018-2019 cocoa season. The loan obligation, which was signed off by 21 banks, have been priced with a coupon rate of 6%, but 0.6% interest. CEO of Cocoa Board, Joseph Boahen Edu, engaged the media via Skype from Amsterdam, Holland, on Thursday, where the facility was signed. There's more in this report.
Chief Executive Officer of Cocoa Board, Joseph Adu, who signed off the receipt at Amsterdam in Holland, said the facility will center on equipping cocoa farmers for high crop yields. The first drawdown of the syndication loan will see $640 million by October 4th, with the final tranche expected by the end of November 2018. The first drawdown of the syndicated loan will see $640 million by October 4th, with the final tranche expected by the end of November 2018. Meanwhile, Joseph Boahin Adu said despite dwindling crop harvest, Cocoa Board is on course to meeting its financial obligations.
Facility, it brings pressure on Ghana Cocoa Board. Because the money that you are taking for, that is buying cocoa, that you want to take part to do these medium to long-term programs. So we've decided that we must have a separate financing apart from the annual facility financing to prosecute medium to long-term programs. And we've already, had favorable conversation with the banks. And this afternoon we are meeting to look at some of the arrangement that we are doing with a number of banks to have a medium-term facility. At the moment, we are looking for $300 million US, from these banks, to start with, so that we can use it to address some of these, fundamental.
Meanwhile, Joseph Boahin Adu said despite dwindling crop harvest, Cocoa Board is on course to meeting its financial obligations in respect of the $1.3 billion syndicated loan. He said prudent expenditure plans will be drafted to ensure value for money.
Whatever amount that you take. And remember, this is also impacted by the world market price. So when the price of cocoa is going down, it means you'll be committing more cocoa for whatever collateral you've taken. That is whatever money that you've taken. And what I said, and which I must repeat today, is that because the world market price of cocoa continues to fall, we have to tread cautiously. If you take a bigger amount, let's say $1.8 billion US, when the price of cocoa is going down in the international market, it will mean that you need more cocoa to be able to pay for that amount.
Chairman of CDH Holdings has confirmed plans to partner with an existing bank as it aspires to move from a savings and loans company to conventional bank. At the company's annual general meeting, the chairman of CDH Investment Holdings, Emmanuel Edusa-Akodie, confirmed the company is in talks with several banks, but yet to settle on a firm partner.
Speaking at the company's annual general meeting, Chairman of CDH Emmanuel Edusa-Akodie said, although the company has been involved in talks with several banks, they are yet to settle on one.
We are still open to discussions. I don't know what is up with Ghanaians, but mergers, acquisitions, we co-own it. It's a very thorny issue, but we are okay because we have very diversified shareholders, banks, insurance companies, fund managers. So we are still open, but the talks are always very difficult, especially when nobody ends up as majority, 4, 5, 6 of you, you all end up holding some small bits of it. So yeah, we're still open to discussions. Unlike banks who are under pressure to raise 400 million, we are not, because we are a savings and loans company. So we're just fine. We have all the time to plan our strategy of eventually joining the financial institution as a bank.
The fund, according to the annual general report, had made a year-to-date returns of 33.69%. Seth Aite is the fund manager.
The market will say that there are some equities, if you have them, sometimes you offload and you will never get a gain. And sometimes you don't offload, you are in trouble. So that's where you need skill and experience. And so at the time that it got to a time when we decided that no, we're not going to offload, we're not going to sell and trade the portfolio, but wait and hold. And then all of a sudden, those particular shares that we thought that they were the rallying force, they started dropping. And so quickly we had to change strategy. So it was a result of strategy, change strategy, skill experience, until we were able to overcome it. So it was very challenging.
Sheila Tamaklo for Joy Business.
Some foreign investors have expressed displeasure with the country's local content policies. They say the current policies have become major disincentives to foreign direct investment. That's more in the following report by Bismarck Ausa.
According to some foreign investors, Ghana stands to gain if it remains an open market. This follows calls by a section of the public for increased local content participation. But speaking to Joy Business, the general manager of the Ghana Netherlands Business and Cultural Council, Jiling Wiada, says this move could serve as disincentive for foreign investors.
Never in history was a policy where you, also in Holland, where you only focus on your own companies is helpful for extra investment. Because what happens if there are more investors in Ghana, then it also increases competition and local Ghanaian companies learn from the quality, etc., etc. So it should be a two-way thing. I am very much for a free trade environment. I believe in free trade. I'm not believing in the President of the United States and all the protectionist measures. So I really hope that Ghana keeps an open eye on and remains an open market, and that will increase more investors to this country, to this beautiful country.
Mr. Wiada spoke to Joy Business at the GIPC networking event between Ghana, South Africa and the Netherlands investors. The event brought together the said investors to socialize and share business ideas to increase trade volumes between Ghana and the other international countries. Meanwhile, the president of Ghana South Africa Parliamentary Friendship Association, Samuel Nati George, says there is the need for governments to push for more Ghanaian partnership by the South Africans to address local content participation concerns.
Currently, most of the South African businesses here have Ghanaian partnership. What we can keep to do is to push for them to have more Ghanaian partnership. Can we have 51% ownership as Ghanaian in here? I mean, you need to look at that also and see how that would also affect making Ghana a favorable destination. So in wanting to have majority Ghanaian shareholding, you need to ask yourself, what is the Ghanaian bringing on board in terms of capital or skill?
On her part, First Vice President of the Ghana South Africa Business Chamber, Opebia Omabu, says plans are far advanced to open an office in South Africa to provide Ghanaian investors there some visibility.
In the future, we plan on opening an office in South Africa, which will enable the same visibility we give the South Africans here be given to the Ghanaians in South Africa. So this is our plan for early next year. It's working very well. I mean, we have almost finished and we'll have a grand opening and we will make a bit of noise about it when the time comes.
Bismarck Ausa, Joy Business.
That's all we have for you in business today. My name is Emmanuel Abuachi. Have a good evening.
You're welcome back. Now, at least 3 children were defiled daily in Ghana in the years 2015, 2016 and 2017. The figures were contained in the 2017 Criminal Investigations Department Annual Crime Statistics Report. Gender Minister Designate Cynthia Morrison is attributing the menace to fear, poverty and lack of education. She says the outfit is working to make some shelters for defiled children fully functional to create a safer space for them. Maxwell Apapa has more in this report.
According to the 2017 Criminal Investigations Department Annual Crime Statistics, 1,630 cases of sexually abused children were reported in 2015 alone. In 2016, 1,341 were reported. In 2017, 1,685 cases of children who were defiled were reported. It is instructive to note that these figures exclude rape. Greater Accra led as the region with the highest number of cases of sexually abused during the period. Executive Director of the Human Rights Advocacy Center, Cynthia Nimo Apredu, says the victims could be more as a lot of defilement cases go unreported.
In truth, these figures may not even
even be the actual representation of what happens. Some people do not report. Okay, so these figures are not even the true representation. There are other sociocultural factors. There's stigma. The people who do these things are very closely related to the victims, and so you find that they have a difficulty in reporting. And so that is probably the first challenge. So to curb that challenge, we have to go out and educate people. We need to sensitize. We need to go into the schools.
Speaking on the Super Morning Show, the director of the Center for Juvenile Delinquency, Dennis Ajay Numo, called for a special fund to support children who are defiled.
If you do not have money, the way the system has been structured, you cannot get justice. We can decide that we are going for an element of a social purpose, taxation or a special dedication based on law, so that appropriation bill, whenever it's passed, would designate that an amount of 0.01 of the consolidated fund should be designated for child victims, so that there's a victim support fund in which there is money put in the fund. Otherwise, if we put them in the general category of consolidated fund, every year the government will say there's no money.
Gender Minister Designate Cynthia Mamley Morrison says her outfit is working to get some shelters for defiled children fully functional.
The first person I called was my director, and she also confirmed that it is on the increase. So we have to create awareness. We have to work with the schools, head teachers. We don't have counselors in all. We don't even have shelters where we keep the children when they are defiled. So they go back to the same people, the same relatives that molest them. So we look at that, where to keep the children after they have reported. We already have some shelters, we have some homes. So all we have to do is identify the number of homes that we have.
Children who are defiled are left with psychological trauma, bruised for life, as the innocence of these children is lost to the libido of men who are sometimes old enough to be their fathers. It is important for a safe net to be created to protect them. Also, the laws must be made to bite hard enough to deter others.
Now let's take a look at some statistics on this particular issue, shall we? So, as we indicated, at least 3 children, girls, were defiled daily from 2015 to 2017. In 2015, 4 were defiled daily. In 2016, 3 were defiled daily, and in 2017, 5 children were defiled daily. So the Greater Accra region recorded the highest defilement cases from 2015 to 2017. In 2015, 335 children were defiled. In 2016, 308 children were defiled. So that's a reduction in the number. But in 2015, the number increased. 2017, rather, the number increased. It increased to 554. So 554 children in 2017 were defiled. You're welcome back. Now, Auditor General Daniel Domolevo is advocating the immediate halt to the practice of bringing back former CEOs and board chairmen of public institutions to their positions. According to him, this is undermining the effectiveness of the work of current heads of some of these agencies. You will recall Mr. Domolevo has accused Professor Duajiman, a former Auditor General between 2001 and 2009, and now chairman of the audit board, of unlawfully interfering in his work. He accuses Professor Duajiman of manipulating the procurement process and attempting to commission an audit, among others, in a 10-point petition to the president. While speaking at a public lecture to commemorate the 3rd Kwejo Ban Redu Memorial Lecture in Accra, Mr. Domolevo said some of these appointees use their second coming to these agencies to disrupt activities of the heads.
Mr. Chairman, I also want to submit that the practice of bringing back former public servants to their old positions or bringing former chief executives as board members leaves a lot to be desired. Because clearly there will be conflicts. Since I came to office, I've recruited more than 200 people last year and this year, and a whole lot of people will owe me allegiance. If you bring me back years later, as the board member or board chairman, I can easily undermine the incumbent who is there. So we may have to have a second look at this. And some of the board members, immediately they are appointed, they think it is their second coming of Christ. So you immediately arrive, we won't do this, we don't allow this, we don't like this. Even when you draw their attention to law, you find board members thinking that they can override laws. It's a bit disturbing. That not even ordinary laws. At times we are talking about the supreme law of Ghana, the Constitution, and you hear members, some of them are even learned. They say, and so what? We are the board. We are in charge. I would like to offer some few advice points here. I want to say that yes, public service of Ghana, from my point of view, is governed by laws, and therefore the universal principles of corporate governance cannot override the laws of Ghana. I hear some people talking about being champions of corporate governance.
Daniel Domilevo also challenged overage government workers to leave the job for young graduates, many of whom are unemployed as a result of the situation. He's also proposing sanctions for non-performance in the public sector as a way of whipping public servants in line.
Our constitution says that when you turn 60, go home. It's as simple as that. Immediately you reach 60 years, go home. And when I'm 60 years, I've been telling my colleagues that I won't ask for even 1 minute. Because I think when I'm 60 years, I must go for someone to also come. People are over 60 years, and of course, yes, the Constitution mandates the president to give 2 years, and what? 1. That is 5 years in addition to the 60. Some are over 70 and they are still around. And when I say they should go home, they are fighting me. Is it me? Change the law if you think the retiring age should be 80. The disturbing part of it is that we have our graduates on the street. They don't have job to do. And we think we must remain in the office. At times you see some public servants and you wonder how many times they will be 60 years. You wonder whether this is their third time or their second time they are going to be 60 years. They falsify birth certificates so to remain young. It's only when they die that you know they are at true age. The man retires at 60. He dies the next year and is 82. That is what is happening in our country. That is not as disturbing as the fact that two things which disturb him, Mr. Chairman. One, they block the opportunity for the young ones to also get some work to do.
Well, the Auditor General also expressed outrage at the number of funds created to hold public funds aside the constitutional mandated consolidated fund and the District Assembly Common Fund. Well, according to Mr. Domilevo, all the others, including the Road Fund and Get Fund, among others, draw from the state's overhead cost. He's of the view that this creates fertile grounds for corruption and says decentralization could cure the problem.
I submit that I find it very disturbing to see the number of funds created in the public sector. Apart from the consolidated fund, we have District Assembly Common Fund, we have Road Fund, Gate Fund, so many funds. Even we have the Constituency Development Fund, donor funds, internally generated fund, and after we have divided the money into funds, please understand where I'm coming from. Each of the fund is an overhead on the public funds. Because if you take Controller and Accountant General's department, their total expenditure is an overhead on consolidated fund. So is the total expenditure of Gate Fund on that fund, Road Fund, whatever fund. In my candid opinion, the Constitution recognizes only one fund that we cannot do without, apart from the consolidated fund, which is the District Assembly Common Fund. And unfortunately, I say unfortunately because I think it's very unfortunate, the framers of the Constitution say not more than, is it not less? Yeah, not less than 5% should be put in there. They should have said not more than 5% should be kept in the center. The rest should go. Because that's where we have the activity.
Now, the Births and Deaths Registry has deployed 271 staff across the country to ensure every child born or anyone who dies gets legal identity via registration. This follows introduction of computerized community population and mobile registration program, which has been in the system for the past 2 years. Speaking to Joy News at the 15th Birth and Death Registry Awareness Creation Day, Acting Registrar General Reverend Kingsley Asare-Addo emphasized the registration process is necessary as it helps build a national identification system. Here's Joshua Smith's report.
Addressing the media on the theme Early Births and Deaths Registration, the key to providing a legal identity for all, Acting Registrar General Reverend Kingsley Asare-Addo noted the registry registers at least 64% of all new births in the country annually.
On an annual basis, we are able to register 64% of all newly expected births that occur in this country. So over the years, we are trying to work this figure up to achieve at least near 100%.
Deputy Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Kwesi Boateng expressed disappointment at most Ghanaians being more enthused by deaths, yet forgetting to register deaths.
In respect of the deaths, we were saying that it's against the law for anybody to die and for the relations to go and bury without taking the death certificate. People are enthused about births. They are not enthused about deaths.
The Deputy Minister noted accurate data of births would help in proper planning.
But as a people, also think that it's important that every nation, including Ghana, is able to determine the number of people that are born and, for that matter, are being added into the system, as against those who are also dying and then exiting from the system. Because without that, then planning becomes a matter which is done without any scientific basis.
This year's program is aimed at raising the level of public awareness about the importance and benefits of early births and death registration in Ghana. Joshua Smith reports for Joy News.
Now, a swoop by the Ghana Immigration Service Thursday has rounded up 73 foreign nationals believed to be engaged in prostitution in the Red Coat neighborhood in Medina, in the Greater Accra region. This followed intelligence gathered by the Immigration Service. Kingsley Otu's report read to you.
Speaking at a news briefing, Deputy Superintendent of Immigration Linda Asare-Mante said a total of 82 females were arrested, including 72 Nigerians, a Togolese, and 9 Ghanaians. She added, barring any constraints, the foreign nationals will leave the shores of the country the same day.
This morning, the enforcement unit of the Ghana Immigration Service undertook a swoop of the Royco neighborhood at Medina in Accra and arrested 73 foreign nationals and 9 Ghanaians, numbering 82. The swoop was based on intelligence picked by the Ghana Immigration Service. The breakdown for the foreign nationals were 72 Nigerians and 1 Togolese. Every foreigner who enters the country should have a passport. That is the document that allows you to enter the country. And so if you are in the country and you are claiming you don't have a document, a passport that allowed you to come into the country, it means maybe you entered the country illegally, or there are other issues to your stay in the country. If everything goes on as smoothly as possible, they would be sent back to their country today.
Linda Asare-Mante says the Immigration Service will extend the operation to flush out foreigners engaged in nefarious activities to other areas noted for such activities. She also cautioned hotel owners who use their facilities as brothels to desist from that, as they will face the full rigors of the law when caught.
Our enforcement is on ground. They are still doing their swoops, investigations, going around to do their enforcement duties. And so when we get any other tip-up, or when we go to the scenes that these practices are happening, we'll definitely do what we're supposed to do. Owners of hotels who engage in such practices, to desist from it. It is not a proper thing to do, especially when you have to involve foreign nationals into this business. It is not a good thing. And we are telling the hotel owners that we are coming at them. And when they are arrested, we will, the due processes or the law would have an effect on them.
Kingsley Otu's report for Joy News.
Now, the Ghana Revenue Authority says it has seen a significant improvement in its operations with the introduction of the Taxpayer Identification Number, or TIN. TIN is a unique number generated by GRA for individuals and institutions to enable the GRA check payment of tax. While speaking to Joy News on the sidelines of a sensitization workshop for taxpayers and traders, Chief Revenue Officer at the Legon Medina Medium Taxpayer Office, Richard Ajogo, noted that there's a need to consciously educate the public on the need to pay taxes to enable the GRA meet its end-of-year target.
Passing of the law that without a TIN you cannot transact business with a whole lot of institutions, it is helping a lot, because now everybody has to come around. If you have to open a bank account, you need to come to us to give you a TIN to be able to do that. Registration of vehicles, you need to come to GRA for a TIN. So it's gone a long way to help us. We are getting more companies on board. In other words, we are widening the tax net through the introduction of that TIN policy. It is a policy of the Ghana Revenue Authority this time around to encourage voluntary compliance. In other words, tax collection and tax administration is moving away from where we use the whip to enforce our laws to encouraging voluntary compliance through education and then constant and continuous educational or seminars.
Meanwhile, the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority has instructed that from November 1, ethanol, lead-acid batteries, canned tomato, fish and drinks will be banned from being warehoused. Assistant Commissioner of Customs Division at the Kotoka International Airport, Theresa Che Asari, says the move is to check smuggling.
The warehouse system is it's a system in which that we allow you to keep your goods that duties have not been paid into the warehouse, but the warehouse is under bond, and then we give you a period for the various goods that you want to warehouse. We have perishable goods given 3 months, and then we have the general goods that we give you 1 year, and then we have the raw materials that we give you 2 years plus another 1 year of extension, and it gives relief to importers, because especially those who import goods in bulk, maybe someone will bring a shipload of rice, and so you have to keep them in the warehouse. They have the advantage of keeping them in the warehouse and then paying for the duty as at when that the goods are needed into the system. So it is a way of relief, a system of relief for importers who import bulk goods or maybe high dutiable goods, or if they want maybe they are going through financial stress and so they don't have money to pay upfront, and so they will use the warehousing system as a means of bringing in goods. These products are actually high at the duty rate at 35%. And the fact that people can just keep them in the warehouses and they may find a way of re-exporting them, but in the process of re-exporting them, these goods may not get out of the country. And so if you get them into the warehouse, the probability that they may be using the re-exportation to smuggle them out is high. And so that's why we want to place a check on them.
Now, with the recent cases of armed robbery, security in the home has become an important issue everyone wants to pay attention to when building a house. As we get ready for the Joy News Western World Properties Habitat Fair this weekend, in fact, it's starting tomorrow, we ask, how are you ensuring your home is secured so you don't become a victim of armed robbery? Ifwa Evans-Jinnery has been exploring this subject.
Armed robbery in Ghana has been a major problem over the years. People have lost relatives and properties through the cruel act of heartless criminals. Last Saturday, robbers broke into houses at Waja and made away with several valuables. These are the homes where the robberies happened. Shattered and confused, residents took turns to share their experiences with Joy News.
We came back to the living room. He stood on one of the chairs and then saw somebody from the wall going through the next house. And so he said, see that guy going at the next house. And then I was like, every cromfo.
When I go home, I found out that there's a table right behind you. The position has changed, so I asked the little boy how it happened, and he was like, he has no idea. So we entered, we opened the main door, we entered, and we found out that my bedroom door was opened, then that of the little boy's room too was opened. So we entered and we found out that everything was gone.
But fortunately, some of these can be prevented when you purchase quality doors and burglar-proof windows from some security lock companies at the Habitat Fair. Ebenezer Bediako-Kwabi is a security lock expert and has been speaking to Joy News on what to look out for when it comes to securing your home.
A security door is made of a galvanized steel, which will not rust, which will not corrode. And it comes with a galvanized steel frame. It has 7 to 8 locking bolts, which locks around the door perimeter. It also comes with 5 sets of keys with a coded card, so that nobody can duplicate the key. Yeah, even with us, if you misplace the card, and we can't duplicate the key for you unless you come with a coded card, so we can duplicate the keys for you. And the door have something we call self-destructive mechanism. When somebody tries to enforce it, it seizes by itself, and you just need to call us to come and open or work on it for you.
Mr. Kwabi says all security products will be available at the Joy News Habitat Fair at the Providence Event Center this weekend.
We will not just sell the door to you like the way they sell in the shops in Cantonmanto or in the open market. No. Also, I can also talk about our security padlocks. Also, we have security padlocks. It's a very high quality padlock made with a very high quality metallic. Some is alloyed. We use alloyed and other materials like metal to fabricate it.
Join us from Friday to Sunday at the Habitat Fair to get the necessary items you will need to secure your home. Ifwa Evans Chinri for Joy News.
And as Ifwa indicated, the fair kickstarts tomorrow, Friday, at the Providence Event Center. It's from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. from Friday to Sunday. Do make a date. Now, authorities at the Accra Academy Senior High School are worried about lack of teachers to implement the double-track system introduced by government. Assistant Headmaster for Academics, Ebo Say, in an interview with Joy News, said the school has had to adjust its original plan to let visual arts students on the green track to join the gold track due to lack of teachers. He stated that the school has realized there will be pressure on the existing teachers if they are to run the program on the double track.
Now, with the new system, visual arts, we have 2 classes. The 2 classes, the rooms in the school do not make it makes it a bit difficult to have, or let's say, because they are on separate tracks, okay? And in normal circumstance, you would have had 1 visual arts class, 1 agric class, okay? Now, what is happening now is that the issues I talked about with the teachers, that is where our challenge is.
So you're saying that the teachers in the school are not enough to teach visual arts?
No. What I'm saying is that we will need to bring in, yes, maybe I'll have to accept that, but we will need to get extra teachers on board in order to make up, okay, in order to make up. Now, what I mean by making up, I started by telling you that what the form before, they were teaching Form 1, Form 2, and Form 3. Okay? Now, with the normal system, that is the Form 2 and 3 group, we are going to have only a teacher, let's say the sculpture teacher, taking sculpture in Form 2 and sculpture in Form 3. We will need a new teacher for what? Sculpture in only the green track. We will need a new teacher for sculpture in only the gold track. And these teachers will not even have the full complement of what periods, because it's only 4 periods. Because one, we first engaged the students, we talked to them about the issues, and then I made them invite, well, naturally we invited the parents on board. So we engaged the parents, explained everything to them, okay? Then when we did, I think some of the issues that came about, some were insisting that, okay, they should take them home. No. There was a need for communication first. That is why it was being done. So we have communicated, we've engaged them, and then we will now, they are spending this week. We've allowed them, at least let them be comfortable. But we have engaged them next week, because majority are even day students. They will come on the gold track as we engaged with the parents.
Well, that's how we wrap up the bulletin. My name is Araba Kumsin. I'm still laughing at that video. Join us same time tomorrow, and Aisha Ibrahim is up next with PM Express.
This is Joy News Prime.